Ever since I started my career as a sports broadcaster, I've been asked the same question over and over again. Why do people care about sports so much? It's not a beautiful type of pop culture the way music or movies are, but that doesn't make sports any less important. Sports are what I like to call the intelligent side of pop culture. Now, that's not to say the other businesses aren't smart, but it's difficult to find a medium that combines what sports does. Science, business, math, emotion, skill, and athleticism all come together to what we today call sports. For instance, if you had told me 2 years ago that the biggest sports story of this decade centered almost entirely around the ideal gas law and how the inflation of footballs are affected by this advanced scientific phenomenon, I would have called you a crazy person. But alas, here we are, and that's what this show is all about. This is where we look at the other side of sports, dig a little deeper, and find out how and why sports are the way they are. I'm Harris Rubenstein, and welcome to the Box Score.
Joe has had his moments. 2 balls and 2 strikes on it.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the first episode of the Box Score. I'm your host, Harris Rubenstein, and we have quite the show for you guys today, spanning from baseball to hockey to basketball and even some eSports. But we start our first show today, like most sports shows the past 2 months, by talking about Peyton Manning. And before I begin, let me make this very clear. I don't really care if Peyton Manning is guilty or not. I go off the facts that have been presented to me, and here are those facts. Over the past 2 months, Peyton Manning, in the eyes of many, has gone from a 2-time Super Bowl champion and one of the greatest quarterbacks and minds the NFL has ever seen to a possible wife-cheating, HGH-using sexual assaulter whose father is basically the 21st century NFL version of Al Capone. This isn't my personal opinion or something I'm just making up. Those 3 accusations have multiple sources behind them, the HGH one included for all you Al Jazeera haters. However, the weird transition from the "aw shucks" Peyton Manning to what we see today makes you question where we are as a society as it pertains to sports media. All 3 of those things are currently being swept under the rug as we speak. Heck, I'd be surprised if we heard anything more than a whisper about these 3 topics by the time summer comes around. What irks me the most, however, is all 3 of these things Manning is accused of are seismic level stories. If you don't think Peyton Manning taking HGH is a bigger deal than the Patriots maybe deflating footballs, I don't really know what to tell you. And if you really think Josh Gordon smoking weed in his free time is a bigger outrage than what Peyton Manning allegedly did to Dr. Jamie Allwright at Tennessee, where are your priorities at? And before you ask this question of why is this important, think of sports the way many fans and media members do. Sports are a direct reflection of society. Drugs, sexual assault, spousal abuse, and racism are all huge problems in society and in sports. Another problem is those with power getting away with crimes. Between paying off Dr. Allwright to stay quiet and sending thugs to Charlie Sly's house, the Mannings, and yes, I mean Archie too, have gone away with everything without any repercussions. Manning has kept this story from Tennessee so quiet to the point where people don't even think it even matters anymore, which, by the way, it matters a lot. Point is, the perception of Manning needs to change. He can no longer be viewed as this happy-go-lucky kid from Louisiana with a famous family. His past is coming back to haunt him, and for the sake of sports, we need to just let it happen and stop trying to avoid the scary idea that our sports stars might not be the heroes we think they are. But unless you are counting Pablo Sandoval's belly or the cuteness of David Price's dog, baseball has been pretty mellow from a controversy standpoint. However, this is one of the most active free agent markets we have seen in years. We now welcome in Maria Santora, the lovely Maria Santora. Maria, lots of moves were made this offseason, but the Red Sox specifically shook up their entire pitching squad. What do you make of all of this commotion?
Thanks, Harris. Well, there is much speculation about who made the best offseason acquisitions and which team has the best shot at a playoff run. It goes without question that the Sox have rebuilt their bullpen, and it could be deadly for opponents. They have David Price as their number 1 and a core 4 behind him composed of Carson Smith, Craig Kimbrell, Koji Uehara, and Junichi Tozawa. With this bullpen, reports say the Sox odds at a World Series win sits at a strong 14-1.
Now, Maria, Fenway is notorious for being a hitter's ballpark. How do you think Price will do in his new stadium?
We all know Price is talented. He had a 2.5 ERA with the Jays. He's a Cy Young winner. His talent is his talent, and Price can control that. What I want to focus on is an aspect of the game he cannot control, but could benefit from and strengthen his ERA, and that's the dimensions of his new home field. Rogers Center's home of the Blue Jays is known as a launching pad. Home runs seem to happen here more so than anywhere else, and it could be because of dimensions of the outfield. Fenway Park is larger than Rogers Stadium by several feet in numerous sections of the outfield, which can in fact affect home run percentages. In 2015, there were 167 home runs at Fenway, which sounds like a lot until you hear there were 203 home runs at Rogers Center. In the first 6 home games of 2015, the Blue Jays and their opponents combined for 23 home runs, which was the most across all major leagues. This averaged to 3.83 home runs per game, while the average across the majors was only at 2.14. Price gave up 2 home runs in 13 innings, which is 15%. Not terrible, but by no means is that great. Take Price's unquestionable talent combined with a bigger stadium, opponents might have a much more difficult time sending balls over the Green Monster when Price is on the mound.
Thanks, Maria. Now, Carson Smith isn't exactly what you would call a household name. What else can he bring to the table talent-wise?
Carson is very unique. He has a very unique pitching style. He relies heavily on his sinker and his slider, and they're both extremely effective. During the 2015 season, he threw the sinker 508 times at an average speed of 93 miles per hour, and batters were only able to put the ball into play 18.31% of the time and gave up 0 home runs. Smith's slider, thrown 464 times at an average speed of 85 miles per hour, was also extremely effective. The ball was only put in play 10% of the time, and batters whiffed 22% of the time.
These two guys are going to be huge assets to the Sox and project a successful 26 campaign because of this bullpen. Great stuff, Maria. We'll see you later in the show. After the break, we trade our baseball bats for some hockey sticks and let Josh Powers tell us why Connor McDavid is the next messiah of hockey. Stay tuned.
Good morning, Emerson, of course.
Good morning, Emerson. What's that?
It's the best morning show ever that's on Tuesday and Thursday at 9 a.m.
Wow, how can I work on this?
Yeah, let's get going. Red leather, yellow leather, red leather.
Welcome back. We now kick it over to Josh Powers to give us a little historical information on the super rookie Connor McDavid.
Thank you, Harris. Now, I'm going to give you 4 names. The first is going to be McDavid, Gretzky, McKinnon, and Eichel. 4 first-round picks that will dominate the NHL and that have dominated the NHL for years. The number 1 and 2, Gretzky and McDavid. Gretzky has a .65 and a .85 goals and assists average per game in his rookie year. McDavid comes in second with a .43 and a .75. Now, McKinnon and Eichel don't even come close with over twice the amount of games that McDavid has had. McDavid was out for most of the year with an injury in a clavicle. He was hitting the boards early in the year, so he did miss it for about, I think, 2 months it was. But you look at his numbers. Now, NHL looks into Corsi and Fenwick stats. Those stats are the percentage the team was on the puck when the player was on the ice. And you look for about 50%, and that's your really, really good number for the National Hockey League. McDavid on the ice was 54.1 and 53.7% in these numbers, which is outstanding. Edmonton is controlling the puck when McDavid is on the ice. He's making a difference, and he's scoring points. He's up to 27 points with 17 assists and 10 goals in just 23 games. His projected numbers are 40 goals and 61 assists if he played his full rookie year. Now, to put in perspective, Wayne Gretzky had 51 and 86 for 137 points. That's over a full 82 games. Obviously, McDavid cannot reach that right now. You look at the last 10 first-round picks, only 4 that stand out: McDavid, Nugent-Hopkins, Hall, and Eberle. Everyone else has been a massive failure for the Oilers. You almost wonder if they're the 76ers of the National Hockey League because their draft picks keep getting higher, and it's working out now in terms of McDavid.
Thanks, Josh. Well, if you had to guess what the fastest growing sport in the world was, would you guess it might not be a sport at all? Turns out that sport works more with joysticks rather than a baseball bat. And for the first time ever, to discuss the latest news in esports, we bring in Jack Ross to bring us into the world of competitive video games.
Oh, it's great to be here, Harris. I'm glad that esports is finally getting some recognition here in the sports world. I got for you big news out of the Hearthstone world. That's an online card game made by Blizzard, the company behind World of Warcraft, as both the Archon Curse Trials and the America's Winter Championship prelim tournaments took place this weekend. So the Curse Trials, which was a $30,000 best-of-5 conquest format tournament sponsored by Team Archon, featured the first test of the post-Goblins vs. Gnomes and Shade of Naxxramas standard metagame, obviously without the planned spring expansion. 16 of the best and most well-known players and streamers were invited to participate, with players like Trump, Kibler, 2014 World Champion Firebat, and 2015 World Champion Otskaka being among the biggest names there. The tournament was cast by fan favorites Frodan and Kripparrian and was definitely one of the most anticipated tournaments of the winter season, as casual and competitive players alike have all been speculating what the new standard metagame is going to look like. And this was the first large-scale event to feature a rotation-esque deck-building restriction. The finals took place on Friday with G2 eSports Tysus edging out Team Liquid's Savage 3-2 in an epic final match. So the round began with a combo Druid mirror match that Tysus took handedly on turn 7 using a Therusian reduced force Savage combo to take a 1-0 lead. He followed this up with another big win as his Dragon Priest was able to outlast Savage's aggro Shaman, namely due to a clutch Harrison Jones play on a 6 durability Doomhammer. So now down 0-2, Savage needed to defeat Tysus' Dragon Warrior with all 3 of his decks to complete the reverse sweep and steal back the tournament. And he nearly did it too, earning victories with Druid and Shaman before losing in spectacular fashion with his own Dragon Priest deck. The epic 20-plus minute final game is one of the craziest I've ever seen, with multiple Varian Rins drawing Ysera's, crazy top decks, and a nail-biting fatigue finish you won't want to miss. This cements Tysus as the #1 player in the world right now, and we're going to look for him to continue his hot streak throughout the rest of this year. And don't let me forget about the America's Winter Championship prelims that just came to a conclusion this weekend either. Nearly 120 players from the North American server met at Blizzard tournament centers across the country to compete for the 8 coveted spots in the Winter Championship finals in March, the winner of which will compete in the 2016 Hearthstone World Championship tournament at the end of the year. Now, this massive tournament took all of this past weekend to complete, but when all the dust settled, only 8 players remained. The Canadian Fibonacci, mysterious ranked superstar who until now shied away from the tournament scene, took home the top spot in this winner's bracket, along with surprise tournament newcomers WTY Bill and Chess Dude 123, both of whom are known for their top 100 ranked finishes, and the infamous 28th ranked Chalky. Advancing from the losers bracket were Buenos Aires Tavern Hero winner and surprise player Snail, Chinese newcomer AL Sky High, frequent top 100 ladderer Talon, and Team Archon's 15-year-old wonder kid prodigy Amnesiac. These 8 players will face off next month for one of the 4 coveted spots in the World Championship tournament. So stay tuned for more updates in the coming weeks. Back to you at the desk, Harris.
Thank you, Jack, for the peek into the world of esports. But in the world of physical sports, basketball is about to go through a salary cap revolution. And to decipher this info, we bring in our NBA correspondent, Damon Turbot. Damon, welcome to the Box Score.
Thanks, Harris. Hopefully I'm a little bit easier to understand than Jack with his esports rant. But back to basketball, like you said, this summer is going to be one of the more interesting free agencies that we've seen in recent memory. Not because of the talent pool, some of the names that are out there, but because of the unprecedented amount of money these guys are going to make. Of course, we all know Kevin Durant is the marquee free agent in the summer. LeBron James, he's technically an unrestricted free agent, but I don't think he leaves Cleveland because you and I all know that that is the easiest path to the finals right now. No one's taking out the Warriors, but the money. The cap is expected to jump more than 20% next year to a record $90 million. That's because of the $24 billion, yes, billion-dollar TV deal. This means inflated contracts for players who, well, I'll say they aren't really worth that money, and baseball money, as Maria knows, for Durant and LeBron James. These guys are probably going to make close to $200 million apiece of summer, with the younger Durant likely seeing the bigger chunk of change, more years on that contract. But we're also going to see the second-tier free agents make around $23 to $24 million a year on the next contracts. For comparison, that would put them somewhere in the top 3 for earnings this season. That's like Kobe Bryant money. but there's a lot of intrigue with guys like Andre Drummond if we're talking those top-tier players. He's playing up to his potential at the right time. He'll be one of the big free agents on July 1st. I think he's actually going to be the big winner this year. We know LeBron, we know KD, they're going to get their dough. But that DeAndre Jordan contract, 4 years, $88 million, I think that'll be a good measuring stick for what Drummond is going to get. Probably going to be a little bit higher than Jordan, probably somewhere in that $23 to $24 million a year range, and certainly a nice pay raise from that $3 million that he's making for the Detroit Pistons this season. And also, on top of Drummond, we look at another guy like DeMar DeRozan. He's one of the premier scorers that we have in the NBA today. He'll likely opt out of his contract to start a bidding war because you know he wants some more cash. There are rumors that the Lakers, who have the most cap space this summer, over $50 million, they're saying they will offer him a max contract somewhere around $25 million to start per year. That's more than a quarter of what Michael Jordan made in his 15-year career, Harris, to put that in perspective.
Geez, Damon, that sounds like some great info. Thank you so much for that, Damon. But when we return, we will take all of our lovely correspondents and find out who they think the best young core in baseball really is. Stay tuned.
Lauren, what are you doing?
I'm getting ready to host Good Morning Emerson, of course.
Good Morning Emerson? What's that?
It's the best morning show ever that's on Tuesday and Thursday at 9 a.m.
Wow, how can I work on this?
Yeah, let's get going. Red leather, yellow leather, red leather.
Welcome back to the Box Score, and more importantly, welcome to our War Room. This is where we'll talk through some of the biggest topics and controversies in sports and see where our opinions match up, or more likely, where they don't. Our topic for the show, guys and lady, who has the best young core in the MLB? Lady Maria Santora, we will start with you.
Well, my vote, I'm giving it to the Chicago Cubs. I think that they have a superb young core. They showed that last year. I mean, they have guys who now have a year of experience under their belt, and I think that's just going to continue through their success in 2016. I want to start with Chris Bryant. He just turned 24 years old. He was Rookie of the Year last year, and he got that vote by 53%. He was also the Cubs' rookie home run setter. That's just exceptional. Then I'll move to Kyle Schwarber. He was brought up halfway through the season last season, and in 35 of his first games, he had 9 home runs, 30 runs. He had a slug of a .595 and an OBP of a .995. Then you also got guys like Addison Russell. He's only 21 years old. Javier Baez, he's only 22, and Jorge Soler, he's only 23. Those guys mixed with their #1 pitching prospect, C.J. Edwards. I mean, I just think they're going to be absolutely exceptional.
Addison Russell, the guy they got for the Jeff Samardzija trade a couple years ago with the Athletics. Damon, let's kick it over to you. Who do you think will rival the Cubs?
I mean, yeah, like you just said, the Cubs are a great young team. They have numerous pieces, as you just listed. Chris Bryant, one of those guys. Schwarber really came on late. But I have to say the Houston Astros. They're a team that, going into last season, they were in the bottom quarter of the league in a lot of teams' preseason MLB rankings. They dug their way out of the basement, and now we're sitting in the preseason here in 2016, and we're saying this is a team that can possibly make a World Series run. And it's not because they have all these old guys. They're one of the youngest teams in baseball, but their young guys are the guys who are the most impressive. You got guys like Carlos Correa, who a lot of people compare to Alex Rodriguez, 6'4", big guy, 99 games, 22 jacks, 22 doubles. He didn't hit for the best average, but you can tell this guy is going to be a mean power hitter. And, of course, that average is going to come along as well as he gets used to the MLB. Defensively, he's solid up the middle. And speaking of up the middle in Houston, you also got Jose Altuve. I think those guys are the best young combination up the middle in all of baseball. Altuve is a guy who hit for 315 last season. He's a speed guy. He plays well at second base. He won a Gold Glove last season. And between Correa and between Altuve, you got two guys who steal bases, play defense, and hit the ball well. I mean, you can't ask for much more.
You could argue right now.
And I haven't even gotten into Keuchel. I'll get to that later.
Yeah, you could argue that right now Altuve and Carlos Correa are two of the best players at their position in the American League right now. Powers, you have to go up against the Cubs and the Astros. Who are you bringing to the table for this?
I'm bringing back the hometown boys, the Boston Red Sox.
Fair enough.
And I say that because last year the Red Sox made a lot of moves. We all saw it. And one of the guys they brought up, Travis Shaw.
Travis Shaw.
That guy.
Go Bottles.
Baseballs are scared to go near that guy because he just tears the cover off of him. And he was lighting up the major league. He was lighting up MLB all at the end of last year. He will continue to do that. We saw him in spring training. We were seeing the photos and the videos of him working out. The guy's ripped. He came into spring training ready to play baseball. The exact opposite of our boy Pablo
Sandoval.
You know, a little belly going on there.
Embarrassing.
But the young core for the Boston Red Sox is what's going to make this team great. Now, besides Shaw, Brock Holt, 127 hits last year with a 280 BP. He had an OBP of 349. The guy can hit. He can play every position in the field, and he plays them well. And that's huge for the Red Sox. Also looking at young pitching prospects. Henry Owens came up last year, a 4-4 record. Not the best record in baseball. Understandable, but it's his first year. He's
Best
getting
Twitter
into the
handle
swing.
in baseball for sure.
Best Twitter handle in baseball, absolutely. A 1.365 whip. He had a 2-to-1 strikeout to walk ratio, an average of 7 strikeouts per game. I mean, honestly, the guy, if he can continue working, he's going to tear the cover off the ball. That's it.
Absolutely. You know, Maria, with Theo Epstein coming to the Cubs, kind of turning that whole franchise around with a lot of young guys, and obviously in Houston taking all those old Cardinal front office people. But guys, I want to ask you a thing. If you had to choose one prospect out of all three of these teams that you think will end up having the best career, who do you think it'll be? I guess we'll just start with who we ended up with. Josh, who do you think it'll be?
I got to pick one. Can I go with 4?
Fine, pick 4.
4. I'm gonna go with the 4 the Sox have because the Sox. We're talking about young cores here. The Sox minor league farm system has 4 of the best core players I think that you can get of any team. We're gonna start with Yohan Moncada. The guy's gonna have a great career. You have Rafael Devers, Andrew Benedetti, and Anderson Espinoza, who is 17 years old. He's ranked one of the best pitchers in Major League Baseball, prospect-wise. He's the best pitcher under 18 since Felix Hernandez, as you were talking about earlier before the show.
Guy's 17, already throws a 98-mile-an-hour fastball.
It's insane. You know, I mean, granted, the Red Sox have a good young core in Boston right now, but they have even better young core working in Pawtucket, Portland, Lowell, and Greenville as well. The 4, I mean, just look at their young core is in the minors right now, and it's all going to come up.
Damon, you mentioned before that you want to talk a little about the reigning AL Cy Young winner, Dallas Keuchel. Give us a little bit on him. What are we looking at with Dallas Keuchel?
Not a ton. Well, the thing is with him, I was kind of struggling whether or not he's youth because he is 28 years old. But the thing about Keuchel is it's only his 5th year in the league, and he's played really well over these last couple seasons. Last year, specifically, of course, he won the Cy Young Award. Over 200 strikeouts, the best whip in the American League, the highest wins above replacement, the most wins at 20-7.
Right.
I mean, overall, and he's a lefty. I mean, the youth on that team, and he's kind of leading that pitching staff. I just think Houston, if they can get Keuchel to stay, and they have McCullers behind him too, who is 22 years old but had 129 strikeouts and 125 innings. I mean, that's the start of a solid rotation down there, and I think it starts with Keuchel.
And to go along with Ken Giles, the guy they just got from the Phillies, they got that stacked bullpen, Royal style, to go along with that starting pitching. Maria, the Cubs have a couple of prospects left. Most of them are starting in the majors.
Right.
Is there 1 or 2 prospects you can give us that are with the Cubs right now that'll help them in the future?
Well, like I mentioned about C.J. Edwards, I think he's going to be a player to watch. He's young. He's only 24 years old, but he has a nasty curveball. It's going to do a lot of damage, I think. I mean, his slider and his changeup, his curveball and his slider need some work, but he's still young. He's 24 years old, and I think with the core guys that are around his age, 24, 22, I think if they take him under his wing and he works on those other pitches, I think he could be pretty deadly.
Fantastic. Any last notes you guys want to add before we head out of here?
I mean, for me, you know, for the Red Sox, the Cubs and their young core system, it means nothing. The National League, we don't have to worry about that until we're dealing with them in the postseason, which we will be dealing with them in the postseason.
And I will say, look out in the Astros farm system for Daz Cameron, the son of Mike Cameron. A lot of similar tools to his father. His father had a solid career in the MLB. Look for him to do just as well. I think he's going to be special.
Mike Cameron, former Red Sox. But to end our first show today, we will look at one of the best stories I have seen in a long time. This kid from Alabama, his name is Hassan Hawthorne. He has no legs, but that didn't stop him from winning the state championship in wrestling. This is incredible. This guy is a double amputee. He went 37-0 this season. That's insane. What's funny is that you know there's some kid or parent out there who's just going to complain that, oh, my kid has to wrestle someone with no legs. That's not fair to my kid. He has no legs. You have no excuse. Congrats to Mr. Hawthorne. I hope to see you wrestle in college. Well, either way, guys, that's all the time we have for you this week. Make sure to check out our Facebook page for our episodes and on EIVTV.com for our lovely crew and our great correspondents. I'm Harris Rubenstein. Good night.